who the mascot is for SK Telecom, and you don't actually get to see him quite as much, I'm sure, in StarCraft 2, but in StarCraft 1, Bunky was at every single match. And now we have Flash on the left side, and just showing briefly BeSt on the right. We'll see him shortly here. And wow, in 2010, he only has a 2-star rating right now. That's kind of weird, but it looks like his record is 2-1. So I guess they're not really confident in his VP matchup, which is hilarious because a year later he has the best Protoss record versus Protoss record possible, and that's his liquid nitrogen right there. As a StarCraft player, his pokery sweet or sweat or however you pronounce it, definitely fuels him to victories. But BeSt, 3-star matchup here, but only 2-2 versus Terran so far, and that's going to be pretty interesting. Was Flash in a slump versus Toss in 2010? I thought that was the year that he just he tore apart Pure and Free in the MSL. And beat both of them or maybe it was just Pure who went for that the 16 Nexus or something ridiculous, fast expand. And yes, definitely 916. This is a replay here. This is 2010. And look at that, showing up the sign. A lot of KT fans out there, but don't worry, SK Telecom fans are there too. If you are an SKT fan like I am, I live and breathe that team. Got the jersey, very excited about that. But, okay, so Ending Life saying Flash was ranked #1 Kespa in this game. So, I don't know if you can count him ever being in a slump, but maybe losing a game or two was a slump. Let me guys know if let me know if the volume is a little bit loud on the video as this cast actually starts here. I don't want the announcers to be too much louder than me. I'll go ahead and turn it down a little bit here. I think they gave him 2 stars, Ending Life, because Flash is just uninteresting to watch. No, I'm just kidding. I have no clue why they gave him 2 stars. It must have been something that we don't understand. Maybe he had a cold when he came in, or it's his mother's birthday, so he's distracted. It could be a variable of reasons here why he's getting a low ranking. Now, BeSt, I guess I don't remember his career back in 2010, but I know that him and Fantasy really had to step up their game because BeSt definitely went through a huge slump in 2010. It was one of the most painful years to watch him play. But meanwhile, Fantasy started becoming like this super ace player in 2010, and BeSt like showed these amazing games. Of course, he was still terrible versus Zerg. He was great versus Terran, and he still is a solid PvP player at this time. But the thing is, he just couldn't solve his Zerg game. And it wasn't until 2011 and 2012 that... wait, no, did it end in 2011? So it wasn't until like late 2011 that we saw BeSt like become unbeatable against Zerg. And it was not the standard BeSt build type play that he went with either. Just a lot of heavy gateway type builds. Okay, I will take that off the screen, thank you. You guys are supposed to be in charge of watching the video here. Alright, so everybody welcome. I am BeSt Dagger on the microphone, and we are watching great TVP on the map Fortress. And let me pull up the statistics for Fortress, because that's always interesting to see here. Flash looking very concentrated here, and going for that barracks out at the front. Alright, let's click on Fortress. I love Team Liquid because it allows us to see all sorts of map stats, but unfortunately it's telling me about the Planetary Fortress instead of what the map Fortress is all about, so I'm going to have to go into that Team Liquid Brood War database that we have available to us here. Meanwhile, I'm curious what kind of opening BeSt is going to go for. Clearly, he is the superior macro player, and he can get units out so fast, so his game is just get a lot of gateways. But really, you have to get a certain amount of bases. you know, until he can get to, let's say, 3 bases, he really can't transition into that, you know, high level amount of production, because you have to have that huge amount of income at the same time. So sometimes it can lead to risky play, but you know, to be able to get ahead, just taking extra bases when you really don't know what your opponent has, or just being very defensive and doing really well against your opponent, allowing them to turtle and get economy, but you getting turtle, you know, BeSt getting the ability to turtle and economy will play in his favor a lot more. So mainly players would want to punish him in the early game to try and cripple and slow down his steamrolling of his opponents. Alright, and I'm about to bring up this Fortress stat here. I'm just trying to focus on the game just a little bit. It was cool that he brought that probe in with the Zealot, just kind of to apply pressure at the front, but Flash, he really didn't have any issue with it, building that bunker, so going for the typical bunker expand here. And let's see, the PVT stats are pretty even, and there's actually a 51% win rate for Protoss, so 22 games won to 21, only slightly favored. But I would just say that's not favored at all. You know, it's a completely balanced map in this matchup. So that being said, it's going to be really cool that neither player is going to be at a disadvantage here. And now the factory is going to be coming up too. And it would be cool to see if Flash doesn't go directly for that siege. The siege mode, and goes for maybe vultures and use spider mines instead. But typically the Terran player wants to get the tank out with the siege mode to prevent from having to continue to repair that bunker at the front. Those of you who aren't familiar with the game, those Dragoons with the range upgrade that you always go for as a Protoss player can hit that bunker, and the bunker will continue to lose health, so you have to bring SCVs over. Almost 1 SCV per Dragoon. And now that 2 more are being brought over, Flashy being very secure here, is it got 4 SCVs on the bunker to make sure it does repair in time. And now it looks like a Zealot is on its way, possibly to run its way in there. And sometimes the Protoss player wants to get risky and pick off a couple SCVs and then pull back out while taking a little bit of damage on the Dragoon. Sometimes that's useful, but the one thing that you can really do to mess up your Terran opponent is when they try and bring that siege tank out, is to run in there and pick it off and then get out. And if you can get out safely after picking off that tank, then that'll be very advantageous for you. But while this is a completely low ground situation, there is no ramp leading to a higher ground inside the main, which makes Fortress a little bit more of a different map than usual. And now the tank is out at the front. You see, if a Protoss player is lucky and can catch that tank out at the front by the bunker, then he can take it out, and that eliminates any sort of like early marine tank push that sometimes Terran players will go for on a map, especially like Fighting Spirit. Now the pro transfer over to the natural base, and we're looking at this. It says 10.5 minutes on the YouTube video, but really we're only like 6 minutes into the game here, and so taking that Nexus at this time is still pretty standard. And he's getting the Citadel of Dune out, which probably means that maybe he's going to go for like 2 base Arbiter really fast. He could go for that. It allows you to build that Templar Archive, so you could build DTs out of it too. Definitely some options here, but the robotics facility is done. He's got the He's got the ability to build observers now. The observatory's done, and now this dropship play. This is going to be really interesting. Now this tank at the back, if it catches a few probes, it only takes a couple shots to take them out. But vultures are so efficient at killing probes. A really quick pull by BeSt, and now he's got his Dragoons with an observer in range. It's going to be a little difficult still to take out these units. So a really smart move by BeSt, or by Flash, who's basically denying a ton of mining here. While this is about 30 seconds to a minute now before he actually gets his probes back on that natural, or back on that main mineral line here. And now it looks like another dropship could be going in to harass that natural, and BeSt is going to have to keep himself together as Flash continues to try and nitpick at what could be weaknesses of this build by BeSt. The natural bases are so, the main and natural base have so much space between that wall and their mineral line. It's kind of like, in a PvZ, it would also be a nightmare because you could just imagine lurkers being dropped in the back and that harassing very effectively too. So definitely, definitely very difficult for a Protoss player to guard both of those walls and the main and natural. And now it looks like turrets are coming up for Flash, and maybe he's detecting that there's the ability of shuttle play, but I don't see any shuttles out on the map yet, and it could be just preparation for the fact that arbiters or carriers could be the next next building or next unit to be coming into play. It's definitely going to be arbiters though, because really carriers don't have the playing field. This isn't a map that allows you to micro them properly. So that being said, it looked like there was an arbiter tribunal anyway. And now double dropships coming in here. Only 2 Dragoons to defend. And those are going to get taken out so quickly. And one down, actually managing to take out a vulture. So a very lucky life before it dissipated into the spirits of ire. And his Dragoons are going to have a lot of trouble getting in here. He's going to need more zealots. And that's the problem. So basically sandwiched between these bolt Dragoons because they want to divert the shots of these siege tanks. And finally a zealot does come in here, which is so effective at soaking up that damage from the siege tanks. Still the splash damage is going to hit that Dragoon next to the zealot. And finally engaging. These these harassments are putting his economy so far behind. It's really messing up BeSt's game plan. And when you think about that, BeSt, you know, even though you think, oh, his game plan is to just make tons of units, he still has timings to it so he can attack at the weakness of his opponent here. But now he's playing completely into the hand of Flash, who just comes out with more and more dropships, more and more mech units getting dropped inside the natural and main. It's so difficult for him to actually move out because he can't get that critical army supply to start applying pressure. Meanwhile, Flash, the one thing to note is that he's still on 2 bases. And you could only stand 2 bases for so long. When he decides to take a third, that might be the opportunity where BeSt can either go for counter aggression or expand himself and take a third. But Flash, he already realizes that he does need a new mineral line and gas to supply a bigger army here. So that command center is about halfway done, and he should be looking to probably expand towards that inner base at the 3 o'clock, but he could also expand up towards that 1 o'clock base too, which would be really hard for BeSt to take out, and probably the best way to harass that 1 o'clock would be through speed zealots and running them up there. And so this is 4 dropships possibly filled completely with units here, and now it looks like the SCVs are going to be transferring up to that 1 o'clock position. And so Flash is deciding, instead of taking that defensive position at the inner 3rd base where you can just wall off with tanks all the way across that middle and cut off the right quadrant of the map, instead he's going to take that 1 o'clock and force the BeSt to extend himself really far in order to actually take harassment here. So a lot of tanks are coming in here again, and these are all the units that would defend that 3rd base at the 3, but instead they're going into the natural, trying to take out probes again. These zealots are getting a lot of good shots off though. A couple tanks taken down at the front, and actually a crucial upgrade could be taken out here. I would imagine this is going to be an armor upgrade, because at this point in the game, you should have +1 attack as a Protoss player. Wait until we can click on one of those gateway units to completely identify it. But 3 Dragoons taken out really quickly here, and now this dropship in the back of the main base. That just 1 tank is going to be annoying enough, and these vultures laying down the spider mines are just going to delay anything from being able to engage that tank quickly. The micro by Flash is just exquisite right now, but BeSt, he's holding his own still so far, doing drops on the mine, but fortunately he did take out that siege tank. We're seeing just a huge delay and amount of arbiters that that BeSt would be able to have. It looked like there was harassment at that 1 o'clock base though, and he had to temporarily lift it, if I'm not mistaken. And now there's siege tanks back inside of his natural base again. Why would BeSt even remove his units from that location? He needs to continue to reinforce both those spots and maybe look to something new to help defend, possibly a cannon over at the top. But even the cannon would die really quickly. You know, the dropships have a considerable amount of health. Only 1 cannon will not take them out quickly enough, especially with 4 engaging here. So the arbiters are out, and BeSt has got to go either off this 2-base macro, or he's got to take up a 3rd base right now. He's going to be starting to fall very far behind. The natural base, because of the harassment, actually isn't mined out as quickly as you'd expect. And another huge amount of drops inside that main base is going to force him to pull. And it's so silly that the fact that Flash is continuing to harass this main base is just allowing that the mineral patches to last longer for BeSt. But this is atrocious harassment here, and Flash's Vultures are taking out tons of probes. There's no units here to defend, and that Dark Templar, is it going to get taken out? Actually, he does quickly pick off that Spider-Man that has the detection, and now that DT can help clean things up a little bit more efficiently here. And I like that he decided to finally build that unit. But that minefield inside of his main base, this is just ridiculous at this time. And now the 3rd base for Flash at that 1 is completely mining, unharassed right now, and BeSt is just like on his back footing. It is really hard to watch right now, and to see him not have an opportunity to pressure Flash at all. And now these tanks again reducing the mining at the natural base. And the thing about microing the probes at the mineral line is you constantly have to babysit them to make sure they're mining in locations that aren't getting hit by the siege tanks, so that way you can maximize the amount of income that you have. And he's trying to take out these tanks. He might as well have built a scout at this point, because he needs some air to ground, clearly. And, you know, maybe a Corsair would have been very helpful, too, to chase down those dropships. These are 2 units that you don't ever want to think about building in the PvT matchup. But honestly, building a couple Corsairs is cheap, quick, and can mitigate all this error, all this dropship play. So I would like to know what you guys have feelings on about this, but that's totally how I feel here. And unfortunately, that is going to be GG for BeSt. And Flash's harassment is just that's going to break a man's heart. That's got to make you feel horrible afterward. He played so well, and BeSt tried so hard to hang in there, but unfortunately, KT. And that's only a 2.5-star rated game? What the hell is wrong with these people? I'm sorry, that's a 5-star rating. That's a 5-star beatdown, if I've ever seen one. And was that his 100th win or something? Is that what's going on here? Oh, that's rude. Yeah, we all beat you all in the last finals, but damn, son. Alright guys, well we're going to go into another game just shortly here. I'm going to take a water break while I let you watch the rest of this video right here, and just hang in there. I'll be right back in a couple of seconds.